I mentioned the Running Smoke podcast. Very proud of that, and proud of the More to It podcast. Marcellus Wiley, part of the Dan Patrick Podcast Network, a weekly show. It's called More to It. Extended interviews across media, sports, and entertainment. This week's guest is Lil Wayne. Here's a portion of that before we get to Marcellus Wiley.
Performance was everything, so it stayed everything to me. I performed in front of caskets.
What?
With the person right there.
They ain't clap. They ain't give you no applause. They ain't give you no celebration. Huh? They gone.
Man, listen, man. That was an interesting experience, man. I was probably every bit of just 12 years old or something, 12 years, like 11, 12. They asked me to write like a poem. I couldn't write it, so I just wrote a rap. I wrote a verse. And so I ran the verse about him in front of the cat, man. The whole church went crazy.
Yeah, and he just laid there chilling like, yeah.
That's when I knew that, I knew for a fact that right at that moment, that was one of the moments where I'm looking at everybody's emotion. Everybody, obviously, they over-emotional. They're crying and stuff. And I knew sitting back down in the church pew, I knew for a fact, it felt weird because I was like, man, I feel so good. I was like, I feel so good. I got this reaction.
Yeah.
And so that's when I knew, you just love to perform, man. That was the whole, you know what I mean?
You can hear the entire interview with Lil Wayne and Marcellus Wiley, the More To It podcast at Dan Patrick Podcast Network. Yes, Paul.
Lil Wayne was hired to play a funeral? Is that what he's saying? He played a funeral?
But let me ask Marcellus Wiley. Is that so they hire Lil Wayne to perform at a funeral?
Yeah, I think the word hire is loose in this conversation. But yeah, he performed at a funeral before. And I think the point of his story was no matter what the circumstances were, obviously emotional funeral, he felt the energy. He felt uplifted despite everyone else feeling the despair and the pain of the funeral. And he said it clicked with him in that moment that I just like to perform. So whatever this life's going to turn into, performance has to be a part of it.
Who would you hire to perform at your funeral?
Oh, man. Outkast. If I had to go there, Outkast, Andre 3000, Big Boy. Wish I was alive to hear it. But at the same time, it would be amazing. That's my favorite group of all time.
All right, I'll see if I can make that happen, Marcellus.
Oh, thank you, Dan. I look forward to it.
We brought this up first hour. What's the number one storyline, like good or bad in the NFL? Let me take away Daniel Snyder. Let me take just football. The number one storyline of the NFL so far is
Tom Brady. I don't think it's getting the attention it deserves. I think we all, as we should, give Tom Brady the benefit of the doubt. But just look at what's happening right now in Tampa Bay. And imagine if it weren't Tom Brady, that a player retires, a tremendous player, a GOAT retires, comes back, and then participates in the offseason, then takes an 11-day hiatus, comes back, and then says, you know what, guys, I got a lot of bleep on my plate, which tells you his eyes aren't focused on the prize intently. And that's what I learned about sports. And it's something that we all know in life, but you take your eyes one deviation off the prize, oh, you're going to go off the rails. And it looks like right now, this team doesn't know its way. This team doesn't know which way is up. And in part, it's because of their leader, the GOAT, Tom Brady. So for me, it's just watching that and waiting for the criticism to start to match what he's been doing, because right now he's not being the most focused leader.
Todd Bowles, the head coach, says Brady does not get preferential treatment. And he didn't laugh when he said it. He was actually serious when he said it. Tom goes up to the wedding during the week. I guess he misses a walkthrough. If it was, would Tom Brady be mad at Tom Brady? If he's going to yell at everybody, would Tom Brady yell at Tom Brady for this moment?
No, he wouldn't. And look, let's start in the beginning. Tom Bowles, stop lying. Of course you give him preferential treatment. You better. That's part of the whole system and economy of sports. You try to be such a good player, great player, that you get that human capital. And that human capital is, hey, if I show up a little late, or hey, I get an excused absence where some other guy may not, because that other guy is not going to do what I do on the field and have the same impact. So we're already starting off from a lie. My grandma always told me, you can't make sense out of nonsense. And Todd Bowles is talking nonsense because Todd Brady obviously is getting preferential treatment, going to weddings, 11 days off in training camp, and that's not preferential treatment without penalty, without punishment. It's okay. But Tom Brady right now, he's having so many things thrown his way, and it seems like more than ever, he is in response to those things. Before he seemed Teflon. Before it seemed like Tom Brady couldn't be fazed. Maybe it was the culture of New England. Maybe it was the protection of Bill Belichick and making sure that outside noise stayed outside. But for whatever reason, and in part it's because Tom Brady has a brand now. TB12 is a real thing. He's in promotion. He's on social media. That noise is seeping in, and now you're starting to hear and see a different Tom Brady.
But we're also seeing this in Green Bay. What's going on with Aaron Rodgers? Didn't get together with his receivers in preseason. Didn't know what his future was. Devontae Adams leaves, and it just, now he wants to simplify the game plan, whatever that means. I mean, Matt LaFleur wasn't even sure what Aaron Rodgers meant by this. Right? I like, what is going on in Green Bay?
Aaron Rodgers, the great. Aaron Rodgers, one of the, if not most talented quarterbacks, has now suffered from a condition we all have suffered from, man. And it's called the curse of the gifted. And if you're talented at something, we've all been tempted at this moment when you're talented and you're getting the rewards from that talent to skip a step. And they talk about that a lot in terms of sophomore slump, or anytime you have to do something again, but you're good at it. Do you go back to square one? And if you're Aaron Rodgers with new receivers, without Devontae Adams on a new team, because every year the roster's different, you can't skip steps. You got to go back to square one, especially when you're trying to establish chemistry. I just think this is one of the curses of the gifted. He just thought, I'm Aaron Rodgers. These guys going to run routes. We'll make it happen. I've always made it happen. And now you're starting to see that come back to haunt him. Just that simple.
He's Marcellus Wiley, the former NFL defensive end, host of More to It, the podcast on the Dan Patrick Podcast Network. Lil Wayne is the guest this week, and you can hear that today. Bruce Smith joins you next week. And I know that you already taped this with Bruce, right?
Yes.
Okay. And if you say, would you rather go to 4 Super Bowls but not win a Super Bowl, or go to 1 Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl? What would Bruce Smith take, given the fact that we always bring up the Bills that they lost 4 in a row?
Yeah, and that's what the question was. Amazing answer from Bruce, because I thought I had really put him in the corner with that one. You go to 4 and lose them all. Why not go to 1 and just win 1, and that's enough? But Bruce just showed me why Bruce Smith is the greatest defensive end of all time. All-time leader in sacks and all-time leader in tackles. His answer, and I want people obviously to listen to the podcast to find out the depth of his character and his response.
I got to go to all 4. I'm going to 4 and losing 4.
You know what? I'm not. As I sit here, not a champion and dealing with that reality versus getting so close so many times but coming up short every single time, I'm going with 1 for 1 versus 0 for 4. But you should hear what Bruce says. I think it's a different answer than both of us, and a greater answer.
And I brought this up before, that we've been nominated for a Sports Emmy for this show 5 years in a row.
Nice.
Now, if we won 1 and then didn't have the other 4 years of being nominated, I would have a problem with that. I would rather be nominated 5 times, not win, than nominated just 1 time and win.
I mean, there's a longevity argument. There's I am great in excellence, but I have not achieved the ultimate goal conversation we're having. For me, everyone is second place, no matter how it feels if you don't win at all. You could be the first loser, whatever you want to call it. We're all chasing one thing. You don't acquire that one thing. Being number 2 versus number 32 in NFL, what's really the difference? So that's why I think it's almost a zero-sum game. It's all or nothing. And for me, why are we in pursuit of nothing? We're in pursuit of it all. Let me get that one and then move on.
Yeah, Paul.
Did I sway you?
No. I still would go to 4 Super Bowls, 4 in a row, which will never be done again. And they go to 4. They did lose. I'd rather go 0 for 4 than
really hard. Okay, Dan, let's
one.
go here. Baseball. I just heard you guys. You'd rather go in the World Series in Game 7, 0 for 4, or would you rather go 1 for 1? And that one was a dinger out the park. Come on.
Well, wait a minute. It's different because if I don't have any hits, I get to the Super Bowl. It's not like it's an offer. I got to the Super Bowl. If I get to the World Series and we lose, but I play well.
You sound like me. Now you sound like me.
More importantly, did you ever have that? How many times did you have a game where you go, hey, can't blame me. I had a couple of sacks here.
Yeah. I mean, it's the most bittersweet moment in your life when you're like walking off the field like, I did that. I dominated. Don't look at me, coach. Hey, ladies, I'm over here. But you have to perform. You have to act like, oh, my God, I just lost my puppy because we lost the game. And so now you're mad, actually, because no one is going to go around saying, where are we going tonight? Oh, I meet you here because we lost. So we're all dressing up the performance of losing. But in reality, inside, there are a few guys like, nah, dog, tonight's the night I need to get out. So you got to deal with that, especially if you're on losing teams. And I was on a few of those losing teams.
Were there women, like, in baseball, they know where you are. Basketball, they know where you are, where your hotel is, How different was it for you being in the NFL?
Well, in football, we know where they are. Talk about that. Yeah, know it. Hey, you ask me a question, you're going to get the real answer. All right, so football is funny because we have the curfew, right? We don't live on the road like baseball players. And like basketball players, what curfew? Shoot around, chill in the room. It's a whole different world. They're rock stars. Football players, we land in the city, let's say 4 p.m. We have curfew at 11 o'clock, but they're smart because if you give us 7 hours, we will cross state borders. Like guys will leave the state and come back. We got time. So every football team throws that middle meeting around 8 o'clock, special teams, offense and defense, a 5-minute meeting. We do not need it. We don't have to be there. And they throw that meeting in the middle to make sure we don't cross those state borders. But in those 2 or 3 hours before and after, we find our way like water and we find those ladies. And most of the time it was a restaurant, it was a strip club. And sometimes you just stayed in the room and you had security take care of you, man. And you played the next day.
What do you mean security takes care of you? They escort somebody else?
I'm sorry. Todd Bowles says there's no preferential treatment in it. Look, when I was a rookie, I didn't get any preferential treatment. I was scared straight. Like security come on the floor. I'm like, oh my God, security's here. They're going to tell coach I'm not going to play tomorrow. When you become a veteran, security is on your team. And so if you wanted to have friends over, male, female, the homies come in town, you wanted some lady to come, you want her on a different floor, you guys want to hang out, security will look out for certain individuals. And there was a compensation package that came along with that. You took care of security, they took care of you.
So you would pay security to look the other way?
They didn't have to look the other way. Just don't look this way and make sure when you do look this way, you didn't see me.
Okay.
I didn't tell them how to do their job. I just said, look, I'm not a part of the job description today.
Fair enough.
Right?
Fair
we
enough.
Looked out for each other.
Fair enough. He's that dude, Marcellus Wiley. Thanks for joining the team. We look forward to the episodes. It's Lil Wayne today. Next week, it'll be Bruce Smith. And the podcast is More to It. You can find it at danpatrick.com. Thank you, Marcellus.
Appreciate you.
Talk to you next week. All right, we'll take a break here. Last call for phone calls. We're back after this.